From the economy to government and newsmakers to what's going on in your community, this is CW14 Focus with Robert Hornacek.
Good morning and welcome to the show. I'm your host, Robert Hornacek. Today we're talking about higher education, specifically some of the challenges facing public higher education. The state budget recently passed and cut funding to the UW system. And to talk more about what's happening at one university in our area, I'm joined by UW-Oshkosh Chancellor Andrew Leavitt. Thank you very much for coming in, Chancellor.
It's a pleasure to be here.
First of all, welcome to Wisconsin.
Thank you so much.
You've been here for just under a year.
I have about 8 months.
How's the adjustment going? You spent quite a bit of time in Georgia before you got here.
I did, 22 years in Georgia. I have just thoroughly loved every minute I've had in Wisconsin, and I really have tried to immerse myself in all the things to become a Wisconsinite.
And so you survived the winter.
I have. I did the polar plunge last February, which I consider that to be my Wisconsin baptism. It's the full dunk and not the sprinkle. So
we want to get right to it, talking about some of the challenges facing UW-Oshkosh and all the state schools for that matter. And it really comes down to, first of all, the state budget. Mm-hmm. What was the impact of this latest state budget that was passed on UW-Oshkosh?
Well, it certainly is a challenge to how we operate, but it's also providing us an opportunity, I think, for an institutional transformation, which quite frankly I think is probably overdue, in the sense that I think that for higher education institutions across the country to be able to provide access primarily through financial access to their students, we have to reimagine how we do business. And so certainly the budget situation has given us this opportunity, I think, to really focus it on operations of the university and how to make them more efficient and effective. The impact on the students is going to be that there will be less choice for the students. We are committed to providing the shortest possible pathway from the time they arrive to the time that they finish. So there must always be a pathway to completion for a college degree. But they won't have the same array of emphases or electives and that sort of thing simply because we can't afford to offer them anymore.
Is there a dollar amount that you had to reduce things by, or what was that?
Yes, it was actually higher. The initial dollar amount was higher, but through the good work of the Joint Finance Committee, and I'm very grateful to Representative Mike Schra and Gordon Hintz, who are both from this area, who supported this. We were able to reduce the size of the cut, and that relief was then distributed amongst the campuses. But our number is $7.4 million, and that's against a backdrop of about $107 million operational budget. Mm-hmm. So it's about 7 and 8%. And the issue arises because that 7 to 8% reduction, which seems like a reasonable number you could contract, is that almost our entire budget, 90% of it is personnel. 10% is the stuff that we buy and the things that we do, but 90% is personnel. And so that presents challenges because as you reduce the budget, we really can't cut supplies and travel and equipment anymore simply because we will cease being able to operate as a university. Mm-hmm. So our strategy has been to do this entirely on the personnel side, that we need to contract the size of the workforce of the university by about 8% or about 100 positions. We currently employ about 1,350 to 1,400 people on our campus, mm-hmm. So we need to reduce it by about 100 positions over the next few years.
And how are you planning to do that? Mostly, as I've read, there's some voluntary retirement packages that have been offered, and hoping to do it through attrition rather than forced layoffs.
We have. The layoffs are always there. They're always on the table, and the question is whether or not we can hit our reduction goals for the next 3 years. We've opted to spread the cut over 3 years using our fund balances or reserves is what I would like to call them, that we have reserves at the university that is going to allow us to spread the cuts over multiple years. So we're doing this primarily through attrition and through retirement. And there's nothing less strategic than attrition and retirement in terms of where those vacancies pop up. So it's going through a position control process where we evaluate every single vacancy that's open as to whether or not it should remain where it's at, it should be moved to another part of the university, or it could be eliminated to help us with the budget cut.
What's the challenge of doing it that way? Because it would seem to me that you would lose a lot of people who have a lot of experience and a lot of long-term employees just know a lot about the institution. What's the challenge of having losing those employees?
Yeah. It really is going to hurt, and the reason is that over the next 6 months, we will lose 74 individuals who have opted for the early retirement option. We had 99 qualify for it, and then 74 actually take us up on it. And you're absolutely right. It's bittersweet. We're losing tremendous experience and excellence in these individuals who are opting now to step out. And in a lot of ways, I consider it to be somewhat of a selfless act on their part, in that they recognize the fact that they're going to help us create capacity in order to shrink this workforce. And so it's much better to, I think, have people voluntarily leave or go on to better situations than to do layoffs. Yeah. So layoffs are always there. If we can't meet a goal, then we'll have layoffs. But everybody on the campus right now is really focused in on what they can do to prevent that.
What do you say to critics of not just UW-Oshkosh in particular, but just the UW system in general? Because they've gotten a lot of attention, and there's been a lot of people who said, yeah, we should cut the university because it's either, maybe it's got too much money now, or they need to find better ways to do it. Professors need to teach more classes, that type of thing. What do you say to people who think the UW schools are overfunded now?
Well, I don't believe they are, obviously, but I can understand why somebody might think that. There's a lot of different ways that revenue and money and taxpayer money moves through a university. And I don't think that the universities have always done a very good job of being as transparent as we need to be or could be in terms of how the operations work. And that's one of the things we're going to work very hard to accomplish. I know that my boss, President Ray Cross, is really focusing in like a laser on that very subject. Mm-hmm. It's about creating the kinds of backroom efficiencies through shared services, but also being highly accountable to the taxpayers of the state for things that we do. On the issue of faculty productivity, I can assure you that our faculty members work, and they work very, very hard. And one of the things that I want to start to do in this state is to talk about differentiating what's happening in the comprehensive institutions, and those are the Whitewaters and the Oshkoshes and the Green Bays, as opposed to, say, our good friends and big sisters at UW-Madison and Milwaukee. Madison and Milwaukee are research institutions. You have a faculty member there who may teach less than they do, say, in a comprehensive, but at the same time, oftentimes they are bringing in millions of dollars of grant money, which helps the state and certainly helps humanity in general in terms of the work that they're doing. We certainly have a research agenda at our institution, but our professors, for the most part, are carrying either what's called a 3-3 load or a 4-4 load, in that a 3-3 load is they're teaching 3 different classes per semester, in addition to the scholarship they do and the research. I can assure everybody that the taxpayers are getting more than their money's worth out of the really great things that the faculty do at these comprehensive institutions.
One thing that got a lot of attention the last year at UW-Oshkosh was the decision about some athletic programs.
Right.
I guess, what was that decision? What led to it, and where are you today on that?
Yeah, it's heartbreaking, and that's really the first indication that we are in a difficult budget situation. And when I have to look in the eyes of our men's soccer team and men's tennis team and say that I am so sorry, but after next season there will be no more of these sports at the institution. The decision was a very difficult one. It's a very personal one. Their college careers have clearly been disrupted, and that's something that I'm going to have to live with. But in terms of the economics of it, athletics is certainly not immune to the budget challenges that we're facing. I really want to applaud our athletic director, Daryl Sims, for stepping up and early and saying that he felt it was important that athletics really participate in this budget situation in a way that shows that we are very serious about academics and all the kinds of character and leadership development that we do at our institution. The decision was made based on the fact of our conference participation. We participate in the best Division III conference in the country, the Wisconsin Intercollegiate Athletic Conference. It has 8 teams, 8 universities. They're all Wisconsin universities that are in it. All 8 teams play football. All 8 teams play women's soccer. 3 teams play men's soccer. and 4 teams play men's side. So not all of the universities play all the sports. At Oshkosh, we carry 21 intercollegiate NCAA sports. And we've decided to reduce that to 19 by simply saying that each team who is in our constellation of sports must be eligible for a conference championship. And right now in WEAC, the number set to have a conference championship is 5, that 5 of these universities must play that sport in order to have one. So right now our men's teams in terms of a conference play against Whitewater and Platteville. And then that's it. And then they put together a schedule from non-conference teams or out-of-state teams. And they're an exceptional program. It was never an issue about quality or history. This is a team that has regularly qualified for the NCAA postseason. But in making hard choices in terms of our ability, first of all, to save state dollars to put them towards the budget cut, and also redirect the other dollars that we have committed to athletics to essentially shore up the remaining 19 teams. This was a decision that was, while it was difficult, but at the same time it was pretty straightforward.
Mm-hmm. Is there any, I know there's been an effort to get the university to reconsider or change that decision. Does that have any
I've met with the soccer alumni, and early on we had a number of forums with the players themselves. I've met with also some tennis alumni as well. Mm-hmm. There simply isn't. And the one way that these sports could be reinstated would be if the WIAC decided, all of the institutions decided to bring back men's soccer. You have to have more than just 3 teams playing in a conference to have a viable sport. Yeah. Okay. So if that decision were made, then that will certainly brings it back into a budgetary situation. Okay, then how do we pay for it? Yeah.
All right, we got to hold that thought. We got to take a quick commercial break. Stay with us. We're right back with more from UW-Oshkosh Chancellor Andy Leavitt. Stay with us. And welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Robert Hornacek. I'm here with UW-Oshkosh Chancellor Andy Leavitt, and we're talking about some of the issues facing UW-Oshkosh and state schools. But I want to talk a little bit in this segment about how you ended up here. We mentioned at the beginning of the show you spent a lot of time in Georgia.
Right.
What brought you to UW-Oshkosh? Obviously the position is Chancellor, but how did this get on your radar, and why here?
Well, I felt like I was ready. I wanted to take that step. I'm actually a chemistry professor. I was on the faculty for a long time in chemistry. One day at one of the universities I was working at, they came to me and out of the blue asked me if I would run their fundraising and alumni operations. And I've never managed anyone. I've never had any experience with any of that. And I agreed to do that, and it turns out I was pretty good at it. Went on to be a vice president for advancement, that's running those kinds of external operations at another university. Did some great things there, and it felt like I was ready. What is amazing about UW-Oshkosh is that it's a large comprehensive university, and I love the comprehensive university. These are these large master's universities like Green Bay and Stout and other places. It's a wonderful combination of being able to do research, to do great teaching and great service for a region. UW-Oshkosh is, I call it the opportunity place. This is an institution that is located in the Fox Valley region. It's 1.2 million people from Green Bay down to Fond du Lac. And everything is in this valley. All types of businesses and manufacturing, healthcare, finance, insurance, arts, culture, you name it, we have it in this larger community. And so it's the intersection of this large comprehensive with this great place that it creates an opportunity that really is quite unique. Most of the time these comprehensive institutions are in smaller towns. The one I just came from, it's an institution of 16,000 in a city that has 6,000. So I was really drawn by the place itself.
Yeah. What would you say is the most surprising part of the job as Chancellor? Because this is your first time as a Chancellor.
It is.
Yeah, I'm sure you went in with expectations. What has surprised you about this job?
Nothing prepares you for the intensity of it on a personal level, in that
you're always on.
You're always on, and it starts early in the morning and it ends late in the evening, and I have to say I love every minute of it. It's funny, I'm developing a reputation. I only do email early in the morning, and I don't look at my email the rest of the day. I seldom answer my phone unless it's something that's really important, simply because you are meeting people all day long, and then of course it's very important to give people your undivided attention. And so I really try to minimize that. So it's the intensity, it's also I'm in awe every single day. I learn something new about the institution and the people who work there. The incredible accomplishments of our faculty. We also have incredibly innovative staff, and that's something that, not to say that it surprises me, but I'm very pleased to see that. And then given the current situation we're in with the budget, everybody is focused on change in such a way that we don't have to have the argument up front. Everybody is focused in on what can we be doing to become more self-sufficient, self-reliant, and have a greater influence in what our own destiny is going to be.
Yeah. I'm sure when you came in, you were aware that it was a difficult budget situation, and it was in the middle of one, and that was going to be coming.
Sure.
Did that kind of make you hesitate and say, oh, do I want to get into this? Or did you just say, you know what, I'm going to take this?
Oh, absolutely. Not a moment's of hesitation. The fundamentals here are so good, are so strong, and I'm not talking just about UW-Oshkosh, but also the Wisconsin system, UW system. That yes, we're having this statewide debate right now, and it really sort of boils down to the idea of what's a public good and what's a private benefit. A wonderful thing I like to quote a lot is if you look in our course catalog from 1970 for Oshkosh, and you look on the page that talks about tuition and fees, next to the word tuition in-state, it says none. It literally says the word N-O-N-E. And so in 1970, the taxpayers of the state felt that it was a public good to pay the tuition of all in-state students in the state at the time. I'm sure it was the same at the other comprehensives as well. Yeah. Now, obviously, the reality sets in, and then over time, tuition outpaces state dollars now by about 2.5 to 1. And so the lines crossed years ago. And that's fine. I'm a big believer in access and in terms of keeping tuition as low as possible. I think that's important. So I think that most people will find, would be surprised to know that the tuition at UW-Oshkosh is $6,400 a year or $3,200 a semester for a full load. And so when you actually break out the various costs of college, you can see it's within reach. It's difficult for the average family, I think, to be able to write a big check like that. But there are ways that you can do it.
Yeah. All right, we've got to take another commercial break.
Sure.
Stay with us. We'll right back to wrap things up with UW-Oshkosh Chancellor Andy Leavitt. We're going to talk more about where UW-Oshkosh is heading in the future. Don't go anywhere. And welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Robert Hornacek. I'm here with UW-Oshkosh Chancellor Andy Leavitt, and I wanted to talk a little bit about where Oshkosh is going, but I want to kind of start that by saying where it's been. You're replacing a chancellor who'd been there for 14 years,
14
Richard
years.
Wells.
Yeah.
What's the challenge of coming into a place where there's been one leader for over a decade?
I don't see a lot of challenges, to be perfectly honest. I love Chancellor Wells, and he and I speak regularly. And I would say one of the reasons why we are in a position to reasonably navigate these interesting times is because of what Chancellor Wells left in terms of the fiscal stability of the institution. I have never seen an institution that's so engaged with the communities that it supports, and again, that's Chancellor Wells. So my big challenge is not to mess it up. Or to figure out how we can expand it. But there was so much good here when I arrived, and I have a very high functioning leadership team. I've been inherited, and they're all there. So it's made the job a lot easier for me.
Yeah. What would you say is the biggest challenge facing UW-Oshkosh next 5 years?
I think the biggest challenge is not unlike a challenge at the other institutions in Wisconsin, and that's enrollment. There are fewer high school seniors today than there were 4 years ago. We still have another decade of that type of a trend. We have some pressures in terms of workforce development, in terms of supplying enough qualified people to do the jobs in Wisconsin. And I think some of the answer is going to have to be to bring in talented students from the outside and have them stay. And that's something that we have done very well at UW-Oshkosh. 91% of our in-state students remain as Wisconsin residents. And more surprising to me, 37% of our out-of-state students remain as Wisconsin residents. And I think with a little bit of care and attention, we can get that number to 50 to really help with workforce development.
When people end their time at UW-Oshkosh, whether it's with a degree or just maybe they take a class here or there, what do you hope their experience, how do you hope their experience affects them and changes them?
Right. I'm a big proponent of leadership. I hope they are prepared to be leaders in whatever it is that they go in to do next. And they will do fine in life if they are imbibed with those types of leadership skills and can move into new situations. The great power of the undergraduate degree is that it produces the kind of employee or worker that our employees are working for. They want somebody who's flexible, who has great communication skills, who's a critical thinker, who's a problem solver. And all of those things are skills that are developed and perfected in the undergraduate degree. So in leadership has to be one of those. And so that's going to be a big emphasis for me.
Now, what influenced you most in learning leadership skills? Kind of what shaped you into the man you are today in that regard?
Yeah, well, it's funny. It sounds kind of corny, but it really starts with high school band for me, and that's really where it all began. As an opportunity to be a peer leader, and anytime you can lead your peers, and particularly successfully, you will definitely develop leadership skills. Oh. So my last assignment prior to UW-Oshkosh was at a military college. In Georgia, where I was just completely immersed in a leadership culture, and one that really rubbed off on me. It's really a magnificent thing to see when you see students developing into leaders. Yeah.
When you, whether it's 5 years from now or 40 years from now, when you're done at UW-Oshkosh at some point, what do you hope the institute? What do you hope to leave the institution like?
To me, it's about the students. And there are been a chancellor who's been very successful in building buildings and changing the physical plant and all that. I got to be honest, I'm a little less interested in that. It's about the programs that we can develop, the collaborations that we make in the community, the business community. I will also say our collaborations with UW Green Bay and Chancellor Gary Miller are very strong. We've collaborated together on the engineering technology major, which is really going to pay dividends for this particular place that we live. So it's going to be the students that we produce are going to be the legacy I hope to leave.
Yeah. Short answer to this question, if you can.
Sure.
If there's somebody on the fence who says, well, I don't know about where I'm going to go, or I don't know if college is for me, or if they have kids, what would you say to parents or to prospective students?
A college or college in general, whether it's at the tech schools or at the UW colleges or with us in Green Bay, is the best investment one can make in their future in terms of elevating their life and then transforming their life. And that's really where I would encourage people to think about.
All right, we're out of time. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure.
We want to let you know if you have an idea you'd like us to focus on, you can email us at the address on your screen. You can also check us out and contact us on our Facebook page. And be sure to check out CW14online.com. There you can find all of our past episodes, and this interview will also be posted. I want to thank you for joining us today. I'd thank my guest, Chancellor Andy Leavitt from UW-Oshkosh. That's all for this week. Go out and make it a great day.